Should you play Until Dawn in 2025? Well, that depends on the type of gamer that you are. If you're the type of person that craves for non-stop action and killing waves upon waves of enemies, then I can tell you right now this game is not for you. But if you're the type of gamer who doesn't mind trying something different and loves getting invested into stories, then this game may be up your alley. But let's talk about this a bit more in depth, as this game is very simple at its core, but it's still so memorable, at least to me. So let's just get this over with right from the start. This game lacks gameplay. The gameplay, if you want to call it that, stems from a bit of exploration and some QuickTime events. The QuickTime events are just like you would think. They are comprised of pressing one of the face buttons on your controller at the right time before the person messes up whatever action they're trying to perform. Alongside those are special don't move moments where the gameplay takes advantage of the motion of your controller and responds even if you move just slightly. This makes total sense once you get further in the game, as you're hiding and keeping still in most of the chapters. On the other hand, this game isn't all point and click, as you do have the ability to explore each area you're in depending on that particular chapter. So regardless of whoever you're playing as, you're usually out in the woods, inside the mines, or within the cabin, and while exploring these locations, you can find a couple of different things. You could find story items which were called clues, alongside totems and interactables. But for the most part, the totems and the clues will be what you find. These clues could be literally anything from pictures to receipts, postcards, and more. They all provide some small piece of context that helps paint the overall picture of the entire game's events regarding what happened on the mountain. These clues don't just give info on what happened on the night of the incident, but life events before that to help you understand certain people more to gain a better grasp of the decisions that they make. Then you've got the totems. On a first playthrough, the totems are by far the most important thing to find during each chapter. These are essentially hints that you will receive that can help you keep everyone alive and escape the mountain. When grabbing one of these totems, you will simply hold it in your hand, but as you turn it and move it, the screen will darken and a light will shine from it once you've held it in the right spot. Once the light shines, a premonition will play and you will see an event from the future regarding one of the characters. These could be good, bad, or just random events, but they are all relevant and have meaning to some degree. What I liked was how each of the totems have different colors and are sculpted in a way to represent various things. Like one totem might be painted black, meaning death, while another could be painted yellow, which meant guidance. So when you're watching these premonitions, you would be able to gauge what the actual events were doing. Were they warning you, or just making you aware of something that could help you out later on? They were all useful in some way. Even if you manage to get a bunch of totems, I don't think you'll be able to save everyone on a first playthrough. Too many different things can happen with each and every choice. You could be a beast at story-driven games and putting clues together, but one wrong decision and it's wraps. In this game, it's as simple as hiding instead of running, which can be the difference between life and death. Go left instead of right, and you're dead. Investigate that noise, dead. Shoot instead of leaving it alone, dead. Just about every decision matters and has a butterfly effect, which means that each choice has different consequences and affects everything else, so it adds more pressure to everything and keeps the tension high. Now this game does have some issues. Off the bat, just the type of game that it is means that it may not resonate with most people. One thing that I've learned over the years is that there really are different types of gamers out there. Not everyone likes and enjoys the same type of games.
It's facts! It's facts! It's not facts. These sites are not facts.
So if you don't like point and click games, then you're not going to like this, even though this is more of an interactable movie, but still. If you haven't already noticed, the gameplay in this video is from the 2024 remake that released last October, and with that, the graphics look incredible. That is by far the best thing about this. Unfortunately, the remake had a couple issues. The first was the music. In the original, the music fit the game perfectly. It was dark, ominous, and matched the tone the game was going for. However, in this remake, there are many times where the music is completely off. I'm not saying the tracks themselves are bad, but they didn't fit with what was going on and threw off all the tension that the game had did such a good job at creating in the first place. And this isn't a one-off. This happens at multiple times throughout the entire game. Everything is dark and creepy, but then you get this upbeat pop style of music that stands in stark contrast of what the game is about.
Mike. Mike? It's Hannah.
Hey, Hannah.
This is very jarring and may take you out of the immersion completely. Just a head scratcher as to why they changed the music so drastically in this. The next thing is the performance. I wouldn't say it was bad, but it varied a lot. Many times I was just walking in the woods and the people were stuttering on their own. Add in a bunch of popping and I couldn't help but notice. For reference, I played this on the PS5 Pro and still had these issues. These weren't game breaking, but it just looked kind of weird and it took me by surprise a bit because this is just a movie game after all. It's not like you're doing a whole lot of intensive gameplay segments with enemies on the screen and everything. This game is by all means playable, but if you do notice some FPS drops or stuttering, just know that you're not crazy and that this happened to me too. Another thing that I wanted to say is that the game was really dark. Like, I don't know why, but this game's color scheme was just overly dark. It didn't matter if you were walking in the woods or within a building, it was just extra black. So black that the sides of the screen would look like I had a black filter on them. So what do you naturally do? You go inside the settings and turn up the brightness, right? Well, you can't even do that because there is no brightness setting, which is crazy. So to mitigate this, I ended up going into my Elgato settings and turning up the brightness from there. So as you watch this review, if some of my footage is darker than it should be, now you know why. Going back to the don't move sections, even though they were in the original, I thought these were done so well. As you're running from these creatures, which I won't say who or what they are, these moments are so tense. I remember playing this for the first time and failing these sections over and over just because I moved my thumb a quarter of an inch. Then the devs added the heartbeat that plays during these moments too, and it really made it feel like you were there. Like you could die if you moved. Just a really cool way of using the motion in the PlayStation controller within these game mechanics. It's worth mentioning that in between the chapters there are so many therapy sessions with a certain character where you just choose certain things depending on what's being discussed. I thought these were good ways to break up the gameplay loop of exploring and cutscenes within each chapter, but it would have been nice if these were a bit longer or had a little bit more depth to them. I did like how the scenery changed as you went further on in the game, just giving you more insight into how messed up this person's mind really was. These sections are nothing crazy, but a cool way to cut you off at a certain point and leave you wanting more with a certain pair of characters. This is one of those games that's meant to be replayed, and I would encourage you to do so. It's fun to do a blind run, then try to get everyone killed, and then try to save everyone. So I'd say about 3 runs is about right for this title before moving on. The gameplay for this is pretty basic, but what made Until Dawn fun back in 2015 still makes it fun in 2025. It's just got a couple minor issues that may take you out of the immersion. Moving on to the most important part of the game, the story. The story for Until Dawn is still the same as the original, but there is a new ending you can unlock by saving a certain character. This ending wasn't in the original, but made for this remake, which I thought was a really cool incentive to try to get you to save everyone. But like I said, at its core, the story is still the same, so if you played the original, you already know what to expect. Even still, I definitely think it's worth going through. I'll avoid spoilers, but the game starts off with a group of young adults on top of a mountain when they decide to play a prank on one of their friends. The prank doesn't go as planned and 2 of the friends end up dying. When the group returns to the mountain 1 year later, this is where the story actually begins. Compared to the first time I played it, for some reason I thought the actual story itself was better. I thought it was more streamlined and intricate, but instead this story felt like it was a couple of different scary movies thrown together into one game. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but by the time we got down to the actual nitty-gritty of what was going on, we were more than halfway through the game. The pacing was good, as it was never too high or too low, it's just that it started getting really juicy too far into the game. So many chapters you were just walking around, talking, and being jump scared by things that turned out to have no threat to them. I think that if more of the actual plot was sprinkled in within these moments, then the build up into the real threat would have been a lot better. Instead, it was just like, okay, this is happening. No, wait, it's this. Nah, actually it's this. And then bam, here's the real enemy. Just a lot of stuff thrown together in the story. However, I think the most important part of this game was the characters, and they were amazing. There's been many story type games that released after this, but I don't think any have had such a good cast of characters like this. There were 4 guys and 4 girls, all with different personalities which meshed very well together. The dialogue and banter between all of them made the talking segments much more meaningful and important, almost like a soap opera. Soap operas work at their best when you have a cast of characters you actually care about and investing time into each of their decisions, which was the case with this game. As you're playing with each of these characters, you really get a feel for the type of person that they are, and you quickly gravitate to some over the others. Personally, I don't think I had a favorite, as they all were enjoyable to play as and see interact with each other. What hurt more is when I got them killed, because I knew that they wouldn't be interacting with anyone else, and of course I wanted the trophy for saving everyone. Being stuck up on the mountain gave this sense of loneliness as well, like they were cut off from the outside world, and it was just them, along with whatever terrors were up on that mountain. Because of this, it was fun to see how they reacted to even the slightest of things. In regards to their actual acting, I thought all of them were pretty good. I never had any moment where I was just like, oh brother, this is awful. Sure, some of it was cheesy or kind of cringe at times, but that lines up with the story the team was trying to create. I think this cast of characters blended perfectly and helped elevate the story in such a short runtime. I always thought about it like this: if you can get me to care about a cast of people that I've never seen before in only a couple hours, then you did a good job, and that's what this game did. I spoke on it earlier, but the atmosphere in Until Dawn is still great. It's so dark and ominous with everything being covered in snow. It didn't matter the location, it gave off a spooky and creepy feel to it. Then when you start to unlock the clues and gain a better sense of what was going on, you start to realize some of the crazy stuff that actually happened up here. All of that mixed together helped to keep the tension high and makes it feel like you were on the mountain right with them. Like I already said, the new music messes this up, but when that music isn't playing, everything I just mentioned still holds true. The story for Until Dawn isn't as good as I remembered it being, but it's still good enough for a first-time player to enjoy it. Instead of it feeling concise and contained, it feels like a bunch of different things stuffed into a short runtime, only to have true plot points happen towards the end. If you're going into this for the first time, you're going to enjoy it for sure. Just don't be expecting a masterpiece in storytelling. Until Dawn is far from a perfect game, but I think it's a good one. There are some issues with it, but even 10 years later, what made the original so good is still present in this remake. So should you play Until Dawn in 2025? That answer would be yes, but you can't go wrong with playing either the OG or the remake. The best way to do this would be to play either one on PlayStation Plus, or if you can find either one for cheap, then buy them instead. But if you're a fan of interactive movie games, then you should enjoy this as it's entertaining, and the monsters these people face are still some of the coolest creatures I've ever seen in a video game. If I had to give this game a score, it would be about an 8. I think in regards to these point and click games, Until Dawn really moved the needle 10 years ago. Many times when I play these story games, I think of this game as the one that really pushed this type of genre forward in terms of quality. And I think that's true, as the games that have released after copy the formula used in this to a certain degree. It's like Until Dawn created the blueprint for how to make interactive story games in the future, and that's not a bad thing. This game will always be a favorite of mine to play during Halloween, and I definitely recommend it. What did you think about Until Dawn? Did you play the remake or the original? Let me know in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed this video, feel free to watch one of my other reviews right here.